All right, let's talk about Good Will Hunting. Now, on the surface, we all know the story, right? It's about a genius janitor from South Boston who's a math whiz. But we're going to go so much deeper than that. We're going to peel back the layers and get into the real heart of the film. It's psychology. This is a story about trauma, about healing, and about the tough, messy business of human connection. So let's start with a big question, one the movie puts right in front of us. What if being a genius isn't this amazing gift? What if it's actually a burden? For Will Hunting, his incredible mind isn't a superpower. It's a cage. It's the wall he's built to keep literally everyone out. And this really just lays it all out, doesn't it? On one hand, you have this mind that can solve mathematical problems that most people can't even begin to understand. But on the other hand, you have this emotional world that is just completely shut down. It's all rooted in this deep, deep inability to trust anyone or to accept love. And that's the giant gap Will has to somehow learn to cross. To really get Will, you have to understand how his biggest strength is also his biggest problem. His brain isn't just for solving complex equations on a chalkboard. No, it's a weapon. It's a shield. It's this incredibly sophisticated suit of armor that he wears all the time to protect himself. And it's so interesting to see how he does it. Whenever a situation gets too real, whenever it requires even a little bit of vulnerability, he immediately goes on the attack. He uses his intelligence to make other people feel small, to win arguments, to prove he's the smartest guy in the room. But this isn't just about ego, it's a strategy. If he can keep everybody at arm's length intellectually, then he never has to risk them getting close enough to hurt him emotionally. So why? Why does he do all this? Well, it's not just him being an arrogant jerk. It's way deeper than that. His behavior, all of it, is a painful echo of his past. So let's pull back that curtain and really look at where this is all coming from. And here we go. This is the key that unlocks the entire puzzle of Will Hunting. His entire life, his whole worldview, is built on one core, terrifying belief that was beaten into him as a kid. People will hurt you, and people will leave you. Period. Psychologically, this is a classic case of an avoidant attachment style. Intimacy doesn't feel safe. It feels like a threat. So his entire adult life is just one long preemptive strike to avoid that pain he's sure is coming. And this traps him in this tragic, repeating loop that we see again and again in the movie. A great job opportunity, a chance out a real relationship. As soon as something good comes along, that deep-rooted fear of abandonment just kicks right in. He uses his wit like a club, pushes everyone away, and boom, he destroys the very thing he might actually want. Because in his mind, it's safer to burn the bridge yourself than to stand there and watch someone else do it. So the big question is, how do you break a cycle like that? Well, it's not with logic. It's not with a smarter argument. You break it with connection. And for Will, that connection finally comes from two people who just refuse to play his game. And this is where Sean Maguire, played so brilliantly by Robin Williams, enters the picture. He succeeds where everyone else failed because he does the one thing nobody thought to do. He doesn't try to outsmart Will. He knows that's a losing battle, but more importantly, he knows it's a complete distraction. Instead, Sean shares his own pain, his own flaws. He meets Will on a human level, not an intellectual one. And that leads us to this scene, the absolute emotional core of the entire film. Just 4 simple words. The incredible thing here is that this is about more than just forgiveness. It's absolution. Sean, this figure he's finally come to trust, is giving Will permission to let go of a lifetime of shame he's been carrying for abuse that was never his fault to begin with. And in that moment, you can just see the cracks in that fortress he's built around himself finally start to shatter. But Sean isn't doing it alone. You can't forget about Will's best friend, Chucky. He provides a totally different, but just as vital kind of support. See, while Sean is teaching Will that he can trust other people, Chucky is the one telling him that he deserves a better life in the first place. It's like a 1-2 punch. Sean gives him the key to unlock the door, and Chucky gives him the push he needs to actually walk through it. So, armed with all of this, Will has to face his final boss, so to speak. And that's a real, loving relationship. His romance with Skylar becomes the ultimate test for him. It puts everything he's afraid of and everything he's just learned on the line. And right on schedule, he tries to blow it up. His fear of intimacy isn't just about getting hurt. It's this profound belief that he's a fraud. He's terrified that if Skylar ever sees the real him, the scared, broken kid behind the genius, she'll leave. So it feels safer to push her away with lies than to risk being truly seen and then rejected.
And all of this builds to that amazing final scene. But it's so important to see his final choice not as some neat and tidy happy ending. It's the messy, terrifying, and incredibly brave beginning of his real life. This right here, this is his real victory. For the very first time, he isn't running from something. He's running towards something. He's choosing uncertainty, an emotional risk, and the possibility of love over the familiar, safe misery of his old life. He's got to go see about a girl. It's the first truly authentic decision he's ever made.
So, at the end of the day, what are we supposed to take away from Will's journey? Well, the film makes a pretty powerful argument that true genius isn't about how smart you are. It's about how much emotional courage you have. It's about understanding that, yeah, your past shapes you, but it doesn't have to be a life sentence. The real challenge is finding the strength to tear down your own walls and choose a different future. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought to chew on. The film seems to say Will's greatest accomplishment wasn't solving some impossible math problem. It was getting into his car to drive to California. It wasn't about being a genius. It was about choosing to be human. And that makes you wonder, doesn't it? What's the real victory we're all fighting for in our own lives?